Hello, everyone, and welcome to this Telit Cinterion webinar, How High-Speed Mobile Broadband Enhances Connectivity and Performance. I'm Amanda Flink, the Head of Global Events here at Telit Cinterion, and I will be moderating today's event. I am pleased to be joined by Stan Gray, our Senior Vice President of IoT Broadband at Telit Cinterion. Hi, Stan. Thanks for joining today.
Hi, Amanda. Great to be here.
As a leading expert in high category and broadband IoT, he is here to tackle the biggest questions for keeping your IoT devices fast, reliable, and built for the future. And with that, Stan, we're just going to get started with the basics. So my first question to you, what are the key differences between traditional enterprise networking and mobile broadband solutions for IoT?
Sure. Great question. The traditional networking segment the earliest adopters were rugged mobile gateway router type products that went into public safety and utility vehicles. That's really expanded out to broader enterprise carpeted environments, small businesses. And then as you compare that to the mobile broadband IoT segment, this is where things really start to expand out, where you're driving rich video content from video cameras or from mobile broadband enabled computers for video conferencing while on the fly, and then getting into things like backup failover for banking or point of sale type devices. So this is where the traditional early adopters have really broadened out to include things like rich video content or even private 5G networking inside of manufacturing facilities.
Yeah, that makes sense. Traditional networks have long been the standard, right? But as IoT expands, businesses need different solutions.
Yep.
So you mentioned scalability a bit, which is one of the biggest demands in IoT. Let's talk about speed and why speed is such a critical factor for IoT applications. And specifically, how does mobile broadband address this need?
Sure, and speed is if you kind of consider the how the evolution of mobile computing has happened, as the processors have gotten stronger, as the hard drives have gotten larger. Think about in our daily lives, the content that we use on our computers has gotten richer over time. And the same is true for wireless. As the speeds increased, the amount of data, the type of content you're putting through the uplink and downlink of that wireless connection has improved, but it's all demanding higher speeds. So today, we have customers that are driving 4K video from an actual camera and recording sporting events live without the need of a giant truck to manage all of that. And they're aggregating up bandwidth using 1, 2, 3, 4 modules in one box. Wow. And they're driving very rich real-time low latency video content to our TV sets. So speed is definitely a major factor when it comes to whether it's making sure that the bank branch, if there's a cut in the terrestrial line, like a frame relay or a fiber connection, that they're able to drive the entire bank branch. Nobody wants their bank branch to be offline for the day. to driving rich video content from remote locations. Speed is really key to this evolution.
Yeah. In many industries, I'm sure real-time data is essential, right? For automation, for efficiency, sometimes even safety.
For sure. You're actually seeing in one of the great things that has occurred over time is used to be that all of that data would come back to a central location, and it would be computed there and sorted there, and people would, parse it out as they needed. A lot of that intelligence now is happening at the edge. So the edge meaning right at the source of that data. That data is then being sorted at the, in that intelligent device at the edge, and it's driving it back to the cloud so that we're we're able to get that data and make sense of it much faster. With the advent of AI, that's just going to make that intelligence at the edge that much stronger, that such that our, the content that we're going to get back is going to be much easier to parse through, much more powerful for us to use, and it'll be, just a richer experience for sure.
Yeah, as you said, faster connectivity is going to lock so many possibilities.
Right.
So tell me, how have advancements in mobile broadband technologies such as 5G impacted the deployment of IoT solutions?
It's interesting, within our existing customer base, we see, organic broadening of customer portfolios. So, maybe 10 years ago, they'd say, okay, well, we'll take a chance on one, device that's cellular enabled. Many of our customers are now including it in almost their entire portfolio of products. And it just shows you, that they realize the power of having wireless connectivity in their devices. So it definitely is quickened the pace of organic development within existing bases. And then you have this whole other section of the pie where, you're seeing really interesting, we're not quite to the wireless toaster yet, although they do that Wi-Fi, but you are seeing cellular enablement of devices that we never thought possible. And, things that you may not realize are already cellular connected. Your vehicle is one great example. A lot of most vehicles today have a 4 or 5G module built into them for safety, for intelligent maintenance requirements, for getting back a lot of the data that is present in the vehicle through the computer system and the sensors that are built into every vehicle.
Mhm.
And then, just delivering firmware and software updates to the computer itself. So there's a lot of cellular enablement there that many people probably don't realize is already in their lives.
Yeah, it's like beyond the technology itself. What's really matters is how it's being applied, right? In the real world.
Exactly.
You've given a bunch of examples, but maybe you could give a few more. What's some things you're seeing out there, real world use cases?
Yeah, there's one that was really interesting that I encountered recently. I was talking with a company that is building intelligent intersection, building a product for intelligent intersections. So, maybe, take a notice next time you're at your local, major intersection in your community. You'll probably see video cameras on top of light posts that are pointed down at the intersection itself for intelligent traffic management, for, security, safety and security reasons. And just traffic flow and people flow, and making sure that that lights are timed to minimize delays, but to maximize safety. And you don't realize it that there's a lot of intelligence that's built into these intersections, and that's evolving over time. Where you have intersections, you have roadways, you have guardrails that are going to start to communicate and interact with the vehicles on the road themselves. So this company builds this product that sits at the intersection, and it really manages all of that data at the edge, flows it back into a centralized cloud-based computer, and it enables the city to better manage its intersections. And that was one of the more interesting new applications and use cases that I've seen. Another one that I encountered recently was fleet management, where you have video built into the trucks, and it's real time able to deliver any issues with an accident or any other safety concerns. But not just that, it's pulling all of the sensor data out of the vehicle itself, and it enables the trucking company to better dispatch and more intelligently manage its fleet of vehicles out there. So those are two really, opposite end of the spectrum, but really neat use cases that have come up in the last little while.
Yeah, well, I'll take anything that helps with Dallas traffic and rush time. So.
For sure, yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about challenges, because of course, with new technology, there's always challenges to consider. So maybe talk to us about those a little bit. What do businesses face when adopting mobile broadband for IoT? How can they overcome some of those challenges?
Yeah, I think what we encounter for a lot of companies, even ones that are mature in the cellular space, is how do we go to market? What is the right technology for us? And this is an area that we spend a lot of time with customers learning about their business. What headwinds are they facing? What problems are they trying to solve? What is it they want to, what piece of the ecosystem do they want to participate in? And what's the lifetime of their product expectancy? Those kinds of things that before we recommend, it's somebody may come and say, I really want 5G just because that's the big term today.
Cool word, no.
Yeah, it's the cool word, and it may not be the right solution for that customer. We have a full spectrum of product from very low data all the way to 5G, and they all have their place. And I think spending time with the customer and understanding what their problem statement is really key. So some of the things that we see from customers are, trying to understand how what piece of the ecosystem they want to play in. In particular, do you want to be a connectivity solution provider to your customer base? Mm-hmm. And if so, how are you thinking about doing that? That's an area that we can help guide customers. We are an MVNO. We have that ability to connect an eSIM and connect them and deliver pervasive connectivity to their customers, and manage that all through a cloud-based management system. So these are areas where, again, I think choosing the right competent partner, and I hesitate to say supplier because we're in a really tricky kind of product category. Choosing the right partner can mean the difference between a good experience and a bad experience, and it can be very costly if it's the wrong experience. But I think a lot of CEOs are struggling with, how do I get more out of my product? I don't want to just be a hardware delivery mechanism. I do want to play a bigger role in the ecosystem.
Yeah, really, really important considerations. And connectivity issues specifically, have historically been a major pain point, especially those operating in remote locations.
Right. Let's agree that if it's a cellular device, let's agree it is going to be connected. So do you want to leave that up to your customer to go figure that out? And I talked to a company a couple of months ago when I was at a trade show. And, they thought, well, yeah, I mean, our customers are smart. We'll just deliver the product and they can go manage the SIM cards themselves. And I said, okay, great. So you're working with a company that's multinational, say like a Coca-Cola, and you're delivering, modems to Dallas. You're delivering your product to Dallas, but you may also be delivering that product, or, Atlanta for sure, if you're Coca-Cola, or you may be delivering that product to some remote location in Indonesia. So the IT person gets this box on their desk. How are you expecting them to go manage the SIM card and make sense of that in their own region? The IT person has a lot to do, and you're going to let them make sense of that. We can deliver that product hot with our SIM card in it, with a multi IMSI device, so it enables the customer to load it up hot, not have to worry about what network provider is out there, and they're on the system immediately. those are the kinds of things that we can help flatten out for customers.
Yeah, it's like let us make it easier on you, right?
For sure, for sure.
But beyond connectivity, another critical factor is security, and we talk a ton about security. So, what role do network security and things like data management play in mobile broadband for IoT?
That's a great question. So, yeah, it's incredibly important. So, if you look at Wi-Fi networks, they are, they're ubiquitous, and everywhere we go, we see them on airplanes, we see them in parks and in very public settings, but they are, less secure networks. With 5G, and you're seeing more and more businesses are starting to pay attention to this for this very reason. They're starting to look at, and many are implementing private 5G networks that deliver end-to-end encrypted security to their enterprise. And that could be anything from users inside of an office to all the manufacturing machines on the shop floor on a private network. So definitely security is becoming more and more of a factor for many enterprises that are taking seriously the risks of security on an open network.
Yeah, and especially before making the jump to mobile broadband, right? Gotta be proactive there.
Right, and the other thing about 5G is if you do have a private network, you can interop between the public and the private network with your user base. And if you're working with a provider, they can actually deliver network slicing to you, which would enable you to have a slice of the network for a much lower cost and even that much more secure. So it's the great thing about 5G is it does enable that end-to-end security.
Yeah, definitely. So let me ask you this. How can businesses evaluate whether mobile broadband is the right fit for their IoT strategy? We talked about 5G being a buzzword, right? But how can they make sure that it's a fit for them?
Yeah, I think it starts with their vision. It starts with their partner, us, learning more about what that vision is and working through what they're trying to achieve, what's their problem statement. And it may be something like we need to develop a product that enables failover for our enterprise or for our customer base. It may be, fiber optic networks do go down, and it could be somebody cuts through the fiber lines on a construction site, or it just could be the network outage. So they do go down. Having a failover could be really important. But it definitely starts with a conversation and learning more about what the customer's business is, and that's something that we do very well. Trying to figure out, do they want to manage machines? We've got solutions in all of these categories that can help them with their vision and bring their vision to the market.
Yeah, and of course, we can't go without talking about cost, right? Cost is another major factor when making that decision.
So it's absolutely important, and we have there are ways and means to reduce cost. We talked a little bit about network slicing, so that can deliver connectivity at a much more reduced cost to customers if they can buy. They purchase a slice of the network, and it could be dedicated to them for a period of time. A good example might be somebody that's trying to drive really rich video content, but they don't need it 365 days a year, 24/7. They might need it for Tuesday, between 2 and 5 p.m. So that ability to acquire rich bandwidth for a period of time will help reduce costs. Definitely, looking at hardware costs. There are a variety of solutions across all price points that can deliver solutions to customers. We do everything from water meters that need to stay out on a single A battery for 10 years. So a module that communicates for 10 years on one single A battery to, very, very rich, high bandwidth video applications that of course need battery power, but are able to do that with battery packs on their devices. So I think we cross all zones of cellular with price points that would make sense to customers.
Yeah, and it's basically about weighing upfront costs against long-term benefits, right?
That's the other piece is, what are you losing by not having a product or, a solution in this category? And I talked about this a little bit earlier, but, one of the things that we see and we're always a little puzzled by is, kind of this lack of vision towards how do I play a bigger role in the ecosystem? How do I act as the connectivity partner for my customers? And that's a great way for, it's a great opportunity for customers to realize additional revenue streams, which of course overall lowers their hardware costs through a different revenue stream. You really expand your business out by being that end-to-end solution provider versus just being a hardware reseller of your product. So that's another great way to, either increase your revenue or certainly decrease your hardware costs.
Yeah. How do I make money or save money, right?
You got it.
So maybe one more wrap-up question.
Sure.
What future trends, right? We've got to look forward now. What future trends do you see in mobile broadband and IoT? And are there any steps that companies could take to prepare for that?
Yeah, there's a lot of changes that have happened already. If you kind of look at the technology spectrum, we've gone from low category LTE over the last 5 years to now 5G, and 5G is really, the pace of 5G is picking up, not just in phones that we have in our hands, but definitely in many of the appliances that we interact with on a daily basis. Mm-hmm. So, networks have spent a lot of money in developing their, in deploying their networks so that they're that much more efficient, and they're putting a lot more money into 5G. And in that investment, they are starting to refarm 4G bands into 5G. And as they do that, they really want to drive more and more customers to the higher bandwidth, more efficient 5G products. So, I think planning for the future with customers is really key. And not everybody needs to buy, a mobile broadband, a full rich 5G module. There is this category called reduced capacity, or, the reduced capability, the RedCap module some people have heard about. And that is, it's a mix between a lower category LTE device and a 5G device that operates on a standalone 5G network. So, there are solutions that will enable a variety of different appliances and customers to come onto a 5G network. But definitely that's one of the areas that I think companies need to start planning for is how do I start to move if I'm thinking about, bringing a product to market, how do I start to interact with 5G?
Yeah, it's exciting to think about what's ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, before we wrap up, audience, real quick, I am going to drop a poll on your screen here. If you have any specific questions about your application, or maybe you want to have one of our experts contact you directly, please feel free to respond on the poll and I will have somebody reach out to you. Stan, this has been a really great discussion today. I hope our audience got something out of this. I appreciate you sharing your insights.
Anytime. Thanks, Amanda. It was great fun.
Yeah. Thanks everybody who joined us. Have a good one.
Thanks.